I watched episode 1 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Uh, I watched it, the audio in Japanese, its original audio, and with subtitles in English. And I mean, I guess it's a good first episode. I don't know. I guess it's just like showing that there's like big danger for humanity, and suddenly Shinji is shown to be the protagonist and to be like a sensitive guy and who has like a big challenge, if not the biggest challenge of his life. Using the mecha thing, like the mechanical uh, giant that is going to defeat that he may defeat the the angels. That's the way they are labeled, like the things that are destroying humanity. So I guess it's a good first episode. I will find out more in the next episode. I'm going to watch the rest of the series in its Japanese audio and in English subtitles. So, yep, very nice. I watched the second episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion, Japanese audio and English subtitles. I mean, I think my first impression was like, yeah, it was very dumb to make Shinji fight against the angel. Even though he has never fought before, been trained with his machine, with his Eva, I think that's the term. But they suddenly show that, it's like he's so connected with his Eva that the Eva is self-responsive, self-conscious, and he was able to defeat the angel. Like, okay, like there's something, now there's like a big mystery to solve of what's going to be next, and I don't know, I was very curious of, after that very deadly fight, suddenly he woke up in the hospital, and suddenly it's like, oh, now I'm going with this lady, I forget her name, who is like very friendly, but even even herself is like, yeah, I'm being way too friendly to him, or too smiley, like, yeah, like there's like some mysteries that I think episode by episode is going to be getting more confusing. Uh, I don't know what else to say. I think like this second episode, I realized more how beautiful the art and the animation is, more than the first one. The first one I was like a little bit overwhelmed with how much things were around, but this one felt a little bit more reflexive of everything that happened, especially with that first fight that Shinji had against the angel. Uh, well, I guess I'm still interested to keep watching it. I watched episode 3 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Uh, well, it's like, I don't know. I guess it was good of just showing how Shinji is trying to be a teenager, but still it's like he has to deal with being in charge of the robot, and even so he encountered like bullying with that weird guy, and I think at the end he ran away. So he showed like, oh, he doesn't have many friends, or he doesn't have friends, Shinji, and well, I wonder it's like what is going to be next. Also, like, of course, I didn't expect for the bully to survive when he did that dumb stuff of being in the battle with the camera guy, his friend, the camera guy. So it sounds evil, but I'm a little disappointed that there wasn't worse consequences to those uh, schoolboys who were trying to watch the battle.
I watched episode 4 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Uh, yeah, I guess this was more like a reflexive episode of Shinji thinking about leaving the place, quitting. These things that it is very painful and hurtful. I mean, I wasn't surprised that in the end he didn't abandon the thing because it's just like the fourth episode. So I don't know. I'm not surprised what happened in this episode of Shinji just thinking about leaving, but in the end he didn't leave. So yep, that was it. I watched episode 5 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. I guess the point of this episode was to introduce the new character, uh, Ayunami, Rei Ayunami. And well, yeah, it shows that the EVA units are not like the safest thing ever, and they have to take risks with the pilots. And well, I got distracted with the fact that I forget that Misako has a penguin in her apartment, and she drinks a lot of beer, and supposedly she doesn't cook that well, at least for her guests' opinion. Yeah, I'm too suspicious about her. She's way too smiley or happy in comparison to other characters. Maybe she's alcoholic because of the beard that she has. And I don't know. I have too many questions about the penguin. I mean, the point of the episode was about Rei, Ajunami, and Shinji meeting that other pilot. But I don't know. I guess with the next episode we will find more. I watched episode 6 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Uh, yep, I actually like this very abstract alien. Well, in this case, it's called Angel. Like I don't know, it's the shape of a diamond, and it seems like he was about to reach the headquarters, and I'm still like curious of a lot of more explanation of why are those called angels and what they want to do with planet Earth. Also, like, I'm suspicious of why only like the Japanese are doing anything. I know it's like a Japanese TV. Well, it is Japanese content, but still, I wouldn't be surprised that maybe USA isn't available anymore, or European countries, or Latin America. Like I don't know why it's only like Japan versus those angels. Well, I'm getting way very nitpicky, to be honest. Also, like I'm still thinking about that penguin. Like, is that penguin going to be a big thing in the next episode? But the big question is like, hopefully the next episodes I get more explanation of what angels are doing. Because I'm just only knowing things about Shinji, a little bit about Ayudami, um, Misako. Like Shinji's roommate. I forgot her name, but it's like I think every episode is going to give me more questions, and not in that good way, like in that David Lynch movie. I watched episode 7 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it surprised me. Like it answered me some questions, semi nitpicky questions that I have in my previous comments, from my previous episode about like what do other countries think about Japan doing this. And yeah, and there was like a mention of, oh, every country is supporting Japan except USA, but USA is going to support. And then Misato, I think that's the name of that woman. Finally, like I was complaining that I'm not liking her, but this episode just proved like she's a very brave woman, and she's like very cool with all the people. So yeah, I'm surprised. Like, just how in previous episode I had some questions about what was going on, and then now this episode showed me up in the face of like, hey, yeah, those questions that you had, they were answered, and also like I'm very curious that I got a tiny sneak peek of the next episode, which is going to be Asuka. I knew she was a very famous character of that anime, but I was always asking myself, when is she going to introduce? So finally, the next episode, Asuka is going to appear. And I didn't know she was German. So I hope that there's more explanation of this. I watched episode 8 of Evangelion. Yep, it was a very nice episode where Asuka is introduced, and I still find it funny that she's supposed to be German, but she doesn't look, I don't know, like what I think of Germany. But well, now when I think about Germany, I'm going to be thinking Asuka. Also, there's like a very interesting reference of Shinji's father, who's receiving the first human being ever, which is Adam. That's the name of that thing. So I guess things are becoming more interesting now, finally, of the genesis behind this fictional world called Neon Genesis Evangelion. So yeah, I guess every episode is becoming crazier, I guess. I watched episode 9 of Evangelion. Yeah, it was a good episode, making Asuka becoming more connected with Shinji and the others, and yeah, I was a little surprised. Like, there's romance in this anime. Mitsako, I forget the name of Shinji's boss. Was she like kissing Roji? I think that's the name of the man. And then like Shinji was about to kiss Asuka during her sleep. I mean, it's getting a little bit weird. Things happening between those characters, and their love lives. I watched episode 10 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I guess it was a good episode. Like, I think that what I liked the most was when the fight of the very fast growing angel that was a fetus and then become an angel ready to almost kill Asuka, and then Asuka and Shinji were able to defeat him. I mean, I was very suspicious of why, like, Asuka especially likes to volunteer to fight against an angel. It's like, almost like a kamikaze mentality. I don't want to use more dangerous terms, but yeah, like, I almost feel like maybe she has like depression or suicidal tendencies. I don't know, like, why she's like, oh yeah, I volunteer myself to do like the most dangerous thing that anybody will ever do. Like, yeah, sorry for using those very strong terms, but I mean, I think it's almost like how I feel whenever those people are like, sometimes a Junami, the other person who has mecha machine, and maybe, I mean, I think Shinji is the one who's more like scared of, fighting, So, but Asuka is the one that I'm more suspicious about. And I just find it interesting, like, Asuka wasn't included in the first, like, 8 episodes. And suddenly now she's almost like the protagonist in these episodes. So it's a weird shift, but I will allow it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I was very curious of finding out about that fetus of angel. Like, I guess they were going to explain a little more how those angels appear. Yeah, very weird to say angel, I think, that wants to kill the entire humanity. I watched episode 11 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. I think I'm just getting exhausted of too many angels being like. I think this is like the 9th angel. I don't remember, but I think it is eighth or ninth. But the way is like, why there are too many angels? And this one, it was like, things got more complicated because people Tokyo 3 was out of electricity, so maybe there's somebody sabotaging, the team of Katsuragi and Shinji, Ayunami, Shinji's father, all those teams. Like maybe there could be somebody who's going to try to sabotage everything and make the angels succeed on destroying all humanity. Um, yeah, I'm starting to get the fatigue of of why there's still a lot of angels, a lot of enemies trying to destroy at least Tokyo 3 and maybe the rest of the world. Um, I don't know what else to say. Simply like, hopefully, I think this is like the first episode. I feel like another episode that became like formulaic of what is Evangelion. Hopefully, the next episodes, like I find more surprising stuff about what is happening, like plot twists or revelations. Things that makes me like, okay, now this is becoming more interesting of why angels suddenly start attacking Earth, or why things are so crazy and whatever. I watched episode 12 of Neon Gel. I watched episode 12 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Uh, I mean, I guess it was fine. Like, I don't think it was like the worst episode ever or the greatest episode ever. So yeah, it was like Shinji, Ajanami, and Asuka, working together to defeat an angel. Oh yeah, another episode doing the same. I think the special thing about this episode was that Misato became a major. He got a promotion. She got a promotion. Sorry. And Shinji's father, he traveled to South Pole to find something. To be honest, I wasn't sure about that, but something, well, sad, depressing, but I don't know why it made me laugh. Uh, I guess it's because of the pain. Like, it's so sad, it makes me laugh. It's like saying of why they want to become Eva pilots, all of them, or work with Nerve. Misato was like, "Oh, my father, he was problematic. He wasn't a good father, but I want to defeat all the angels." And then at the end of the episode, Shinji was like, "Oh, I want to now realize why I want to be a Eva pilot, and it's because I want my father to say nice things to me." So yeah, very sad, depressing. I watched episode 13 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I must admit that I'm reaching this point where I'm getting like bored, maybe. Like, it's like, well, in this case, the episode was just like most Evangelion episodes of the team nerve, and this self this team of defense against angels, protecting the planet. They're thinking they're doing fine. Oh, suddenly there's an angel. Oh no, now that team wants to work together, especially Ajanami, Shinji, and Asuka, as well the Mayor Misato Katsuragi, and that blonde woman who talks a lot with Misato. you know oh no, maybe they're going to lose against the angel, and no, suddenly they won. Yeah, everything is not so bad. And at the end, one of these characters in this episode, it was the blonde woman. I like to call her Misato's best friend. That one who was like, "Oh yeah, my mother programmed this in this way, and she was a good scientist and a good woman, but I don't think she was a good mother." Like, I'm just getting like a little bit. Yeah, maybe I'm way too picky, way too demanding about this being like the best thing ever. But well, uh, I guess it's whatever. I guess that's anime is like, it has like this kind of. I mean, not only anime, like, but all TV shows are mostly like that. Of, oh, they have like a pattern of things in common every single episode. But um, I don't know. Hopefully, things become more interesting in the next episodes, because, or else, I won't be liking this anymore. I mean, not as much as I thought or wanted to. I watched episode 14 of Evangelion. Um, the first half of this episode was like the summary of everything that has happened in the anime. You know, showing every single time they defeated an angel. And then the second half of the episode, it got interesting of testing the synchronization of the pilots with their EVA machines. So it's like, you know, something weird was that Shinji and his EVA, they were trying to kill Ajanami. But of course, it didn't happen. I don't know. Now, I guess there's going to be something that will tell me why is that stuff happening. Especially the thing of why Shinji and his Eva get so well synchronized with little experience, and how he almost gets the Eva its own life, without Shinji's control. Also, I think like Shinji's father and like his team, I guess, his board of directors, they were like discussing what should be next. Yep. I watched episode 15 of Evangelion. I mean, the full title is Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yes, it was good. You know, so pretty much it was like there was a wedding, and then Major Katsuragi was like hanging out with Kaji, and she got drunk, then hangover. And when she was drunk, she was saying like, oh, how she didn't like so much her mother, and she felt like Gigi is like, oh, another character who suffer from the parents. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm going to assume all those characters that appear in Neon Genesis Evangelion have problems with their parents. Also, like, the literally like the last 30 seconds of the episode, before the sneak peek of the next episode in the credits, like it showed like a very weird creature that I was like, oh, okay, that escalated very quickly. The first Eva, supposedly that's the name. It's like things are getting way too suspicious. Like, yeah, too elevated. I don't know. Yeah, that's the word I'm going to use. And yep, it was like, oh, okay, things are getting ugly. That was like my first impression of maybe literally ugly, but artistically, philosophically interesting. Yeah, I am assuming a lot that there's like a lot of reference to Christianism, whether I like it or not. I watched episode 16 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it was wonderful. It was great. I could even think it's the best episode of Evangelion so far. It was like, everything that makes Evangelion good. It was like, oh, there's a threat from an angel. There's the tension and conflict especially between Shinji, Ajanami, Asuka, Katsuragi, about, oh, what's the best way to deal with this angel, and then getting into almost losing the battle and things like that. And suddenly Shinji got stuck inside Eva, and there was a risk he was going to die. So he got very self-reflective about his reality and his personal problems. So it was like very interesting. And suddenly something very interesting is like Shinji's father, and I forgot who was the other character. I don't know if it was Katsuragi or the blonde woman with like, glasses, but they were like, oh no, if the Eva pilots find out what the Evas are really going to be made for, or what are really made for, especially after they defeat all the angels, we're going to be into trouble. It's like, oh wow, now there's a big mystery. Just like in the previous episode, there was a big mystery of showing the first I forgot what was that weird creature that was like crucified on the cross. I think it was like it was an Eva or the first Eva, the first Adam. I don't know, something weird. Like there's going to be coming a lot more and more things referring to like biblical stuff and Christianity. I try to say it's like very suspicious and and people with their personal traumas and well. I watched episode 17 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. It was okay. Like it's becoming this episode. It was like trying not to tell so much, except like oh, there's a fourth Eva machine. Eva suit that is going to that exists, and now they're searching for the ideal candidate. The ideal pilot who's going to use that one. And yeah, like I think something that I very appreciate from this episode, it makes me realize like, oh yeah, like the Eva pilots are teenagers. They're like middle school. Well, I think high school age uh, teenagers. Who like yeah, I don't know why it feels so weird. Like why are the Eva pilots? Why those Eva pilots must be teenagers? Why they cannot be at least young adults, like 18 years old, 20, 21 years old. Like I think it's something that I don't know. Maybe it's going to be explained in future episodes, and if not, I'm going to be disappointed. But yeah, it's like I don't know. They're putting way too much pressure of the world in some kids. I can arguably say that. But well, yeah, I'm very curious of the new Eva pilots if they are even going to appear because supposedly I wouldn't be surprised if they are Americans. I think it mentioned something like the Eva machine, the fourth Eva machine is from the USA if I remember correctly. But yep, this anime is becoming more international than I thought, so that's very nice. I watched episode 18 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. And yep, this was a very tragic episode. One of the darkest one, I did to say. So the fourth Eva, I think the official title is Eva 03. Well, the newest Eva machine, Eva suit, yeah, sadly it was infected by an angel, and suddenly the new pilot who was Toji, when he started trying the Eva Eva suit, sorry, Eva or Eva, however you want to say it, he sadly got affected, and Ayanami, Asuka, they were not able to defeat him, and Shinji sadly he had to defeat him, but maybe with the risk of killing him, and well, he didn't want to kill, he wanted to sacrifice, but yep, Shinji's father is like, nope, we're going to control your machine, and then you're going to crush the angel infected Eva suit with its pilot inside. Yeah, that was like a very interesting episode. Just not to say very sad, tragic. But it's like I don't know what's going to be next. It's like things. I'm not surprised if every single episode from now on is getting darker and darker. Like I know this is like a very depressing thing, depressing anime. I don't know what else I want to say. I think like in conclusion, I think this is one of the best episodes so far in Neon Genesis Evangelion. Maybe the best episode, you know. I watched episode 19 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. And well, yeah, it's it's like what you think things happen in this anime with a little bit of progress. So yeah, Toji, I forget the fourth Eva pilot. That guy is in the hospital. Luckily, he didn't die. Shinji, he got, like so disappointed of everything that happened. from the previous episode that he stopped being a pilot temporarily, and then in the end an angel appeared, and the other Eva pilots and the defense base, they were like, oh no, we're not able to defeat him, so uh, Shinji had to come back and fight against that Eva pilot. Against that angel, and things were so intense. There was so much tension and stress that, like the Eva that Shinji controls, it became like its own living organism. Like it can no longer be controlled by Shinji or the defense base, directed by Katsuragi, Ikari, all those guys. It was a very interesting, like it was a very stressful episode. Like, oh, so much attack, so much danger. I even think that Asuka and Rei they die, well, or at least they got seriously injured, and things are getting like more. I guess it's going to become more and more intense and more stressful in every single episode. But yep, this is Evangelion. I watched episode 20 of Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion. That's its full title. It was good. Like, it was fine. Yeah, that's the word, fine. It was, so it was interesting that it was like 33 days in total that went through this one episode. So it was pretty much taking out Shinji from his Evangelion. Yeah, from his Eva machine. That's how I like to call it. Yeah, and well, because Shinji was stuck inside of his Eva, it was very, very like introspective, reflective, a little bit experimental animation. But yeah, it's like, I think there was like a good part of Katsuragi, like with the blonde scientist. I forgot her name. I always forget her name. Like, oh, why, like questioning themselves of, especially Katsuragi, was like, why still have like questions about these Eva machines if, like if we are trusted too much. So yeah, in the end, Katsuragi was with, I think it was Kaji. It was, and she was like kind of getting answers with that man, and so I'm like, yep, still too many questions. I'm not surprised if I finish the anime with too many questions. I watched episode 21 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I'm like a little bit picky, of everything in this episode becoming so fast paced that it was becoming confusing to me. Like um it was like so intercrossed, throughout time spaces, and then different narratives in just one single episode, that I was like struggling to catch every single detail of this episode. Pretty much like the most important thing that I remember from this episode is that pretty much there's suspicions about Nerve, that like, I don't know the exact term, but let's say it's like the company that defense base of the Evangelions, all those big machines, and then like Seal, like the Seal, I understand, like it's a very powerful secret organization questioning why the Evangelion is becoming too powerful, independent, like out of control, also infected by an angel. Like, that is like one big thing from this episode that I got. Another thing is like seeking the origin behind, the Evangelions. The second impact, the father and the mother of Shinji. and the scientist who met those two people. It's like a lot of many things happen. Like I'm sorry. I guess I have to criticize that. It's like it's so much information in just one single episode. This is my complaint about this episode. I feel like I need to study, this entire episode to find every single detail. And yeah, and from I understand, also finally, like that tragic thing at the end of the episode is that it seems that Kaji, he died. He was like assassinated by the secret organization or something because he wanted to find that the secret evil things behind Nerve and the people in charge of the Evangelion. So yeah, Katsuragi, she got very sad and crying a lot. And Shinji's like, oh, yeah, I don't know, this is a very tragic thing. I don't know how to help Katsuragi with this tragedy of, it seems that Kaji died, he was assassinated. But yeah, as I told you, I felt confused because everything so fast, a lot of information in a few seconds. So, well, I wish this was better in a much slower or in a much more clear um, pace or rhythm. Yeah, and also it wasn't chronological. It was like, oh, let's go to year 2000, and then let's go to the year 2010, and then let's go to the year 2003. Like, well, also supposedly Katsuragi, she survived a tragedy in Antarctica, and she stopped speaking for like 2 years. And then oh, I forget the name. I always forget the name of the woman who's blonde and she's a very good friend. She seems to be a very good friend of Katsuragi. I always name her as the blonde woman. So, yeah, they met each other. And I mean, I guess Evangelion is like intentionally like that, like confusing and then suddenly very peaceful and then very rushed, very violent, and then very slow and fast. I watched episode 22 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yep, it was a good episode. Painful, stressing, very traumatic. Yeah, like dramatic and traumatic. Because it's an exploration of Asuka's tragedy, in her life and traumas. Well, yeah, it was like very interesting. Like, I have to be honest, I never liked Asuka, but after this episode, I feel like sorry for her for everything she has experienced in her life. So I'm like, oh, okay, now I see why she's a little bit annoying. Yeah, I'm trying to be nice. I really mean like she was too annoying for my preferences, and I don't know. Yeah, I was felt very uncomfortable that she's a teenager who's like obsessed with Mr. Kaji, and like I know that a very very good psychologist, the world's best psychologist, and even the world best philosopher are going to be like, oh yeah, there's an explanation for every single detail of the characters in Neon Genesis Evangelion, So, yep. Uh, I'm curious of what is going next. Like, I'm not surprised that this is exponentially becoming more experimental and crazier. Because, like, let's say, I would say, like, the first 20 episodes, they were like relatively weird, but okay, But now things are getting very, very rushed, for better or for worse. I watched episode 23 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, this is like, little by little revealing everything that is behind Nerve and the Evangelions and all of that, and the angels, Adam and Eve, and all of that. Yeah, it was interesting. Like they had to fight the last angel that was like very bright neon, white, only white, bright white colored angel that looks like a worm or a parasite. I don't know how to describe it. And then Rei Ayanami, she's like, oh, I'm getting affected psychologically by the angel. And then, so it's like, well, I'm going to sacrifice myself, destroy the Eva inside that is outside me. I am inside that Eva or Eva, however you want to say it. And then, like Ritsuko Akagi, I used to call her as the blonde scientist, or Katsuragi's best friend. Like, well, Ritsuko, that woman, she's like, oh, I'm going to tell Katsuragi and Shinji the truth behind Rei Ayanami and the dummies who are used for the Eva suits, the Eva machines. It's like, oh, okay, now it's making a little more sense of why things are like that. uh, okay, I have like 3 episodes left, and then like the movies, I guess. So, okay. I watched episode 24 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Well, that was a very interesting episode. You find Asuka like in a very strong state of depression. Ray, you find her a little bit different now. You find her with emotions. I guess because now this clone has more emotions than the previous clone of Ray. And things got very interested with this last angel who many people thought he was a human being, like the perfect pilot for the Eva. But nope, he's not a human. He's an angel who looks like a human. Kaworu. I think that I forgot his exact name. I think it was Kaworu or Kawaru, something like that. Yeah, and I just still find it interesting. Like, I don't know, like suddenly that angel was like, oh, yeah, it is the thing that I wanted to find is not Adam, but it is Lilith. You know, which is pretty much not what I want to get into. So I would rather die. It's like, whoa, okay. It was like, to be honest, I had to, for the first time ever, I had to do like research online of find explanations of why Kawori was like that, and what is exactly Adam and what is exactly Lilith. Like, okay, things are getting like, I just find it enough that I feel like I'm doing research as if I was making like a research project for a PhD or something. I don't know. But interesting episode. I watched episode 24 of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and well, things are getting interesting. It was like a interrogation episode, especially Katsuragi, Shinji, Asuka, and Rei. Like, they're really questioning about why are they like that, why do they feel like that, why they wanted to be contributing to Nerve and the Eva, why they wanted to defeat the angels, and things like that. Like, it was an interesting episode. Yeah, and then suddenly it seems like I assume it was like a twist, supposedly like, oh, this world, it was created by your own imagination, Shinji. It's not the exact words, but from what I understand, it's like, yeah, there's something happening because of Shinji's control, I guess. Woof. Yeah, of course, this episode left a lot of questions. Maybe that are going to be replied in the final episode, or maybe the movie, the end of Evangelion. I just realized that Evangelion Life Death Square, that one is like a compilation of everything that happened in the 26 episodes supposedly. So maybe I'm just going to watch directly the movie, the end of Evangelion. But I'm going to be curious to watch the other thing that is like a compilation of Evangelion in like in 90 minutes or less than 90 minutes. Well, I mean, this is becoming very interesting. I need to say that. Very good. I watched episode 26 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, I'm way too suspicious about that ending. Like, I already know that the movie, the end of Evangelion, and I think there's something even more extra content that shows you like the more explicit, more exterior version of the ending. Other people would say that it's the corrected and improved version of the ending. Well, I'm just going to speak about this ending that I just saw, and I mean, it just feels weird. Like it's like 25 episodes, everything feels so dark and tragic and painful and depressive, you would say, like even anxiety, all those kind of things. And then this episode is like, oh, Shinji, it's your own world and you can think about it and believe about it in any way you want. And I mean, actually, people, I got a little bit spoiler criticism that, oh, the last two episodes are so badly animated, and I think the animation is nice, but it is, I can agree that it's like, oh yeah, there's no awesome fight sequences, there's no awesome transformation clips, like this is very like, oh, let's save a lot of animation. I admit that it is like that. But yeah, it's just funny. Like I don't know, this ending is like this is, if you don't want to see the ugliest, most horrible and depressive ending, you can leave it like that, But I'm not surprised if the movie, the end of Evangelion, or let's say the alternative endings, those things are going to actually show you things that are more tragic than and combines better with the first 24, 25 episodes. So yeah, it's like making me excited for watching the end of Evangelion, and I think that's the only one that I need to watch. I know there's like Evangelion Death and Rebirth, but I'm like, from what I understand, it's only like a compilation of the first 24 episodes. Uh, but yeah, I'm like, uh, I need to have answers, especially from the end of Evangelion, and maybe from Evangelion, whatever you call it, Evangelion Death True to the Power of Two. It's a weird title, but well, what can I do? Um, yep. Uh, I mean, I don't know if it's a good ending or a bad ending, but it's an ending, just like Marge Simpson will say. Um, I don't really have anything else to say, uh, but it was like I can see why people really like this anime. Um, I really got into watching this because Wes Anderson recommended it. So, yep, I did it. I almost did it without the movie. P.S. My favorite Neon Genesis Evangelion character is Pen Pen the Penguin. The other characters, I don't enjoy them so much.
I watched well, I skimmed, I skimmed through uh, Evangelion that through to the power of two. It's pretty much the summary of the first 24 episodes in 1 hour and 9 minutes. But yep, I officially finished watching the end of Evangelion. And well, what can I say? But it's excellent uh, and amazing movie. It's just like, yeah, I think. I mean, I must be honest. I still prefer Akira as my favorite Japanese animation movie, but the end of Evangelion, without any doubt, is one of the greatest uh, Japanese animation movies ever, and it's an excellent ending to Evangelion. It's just it's like well, uh, there's this Mexican quote, Mexican saying that is like they threw the house out of the window. That's how I felt watching this movie. That the entire animation team, the entire creative team who made the end of Evangelion pretty much throughout the house out of the window. Uh, and yeah, it's just like I think for better for worse, I think for better. And the thing that I'm going to remember the most from this anime is simply going to be this 90-minute movie, which is pretty much a lot of violence, a lot of tragedy, a lot of blood, a lot of pain, a lot of transformation in any sense of the word. Um, it's simply the ending that this anime deserved. I mean, it's just funny because the episode 25 and 26, the original ending is like very suspicious. It's very, uh, I don't know. I think the word that I want to say, it's a very light ending. It's just like, oh, Shinji thinking about his life, and then realizing of, oh, what is good, what is bad, But in this movie, the end of Evangelion is like, whoa, there's too much happening. There's too much in this ending. And I don't know if I have already said, but there was like some moments that were so psychedelic or so intense, like that reminds me like the best movies ever. Uh, the movie classics. Just to say some random examples, I'm going to say 2001: A Space Odyssey, and another movie that also feel like that kind of beautiful quality. The end of Evangelion, I would say include like maybe. I'm really thinking. Well, the 2001: Space Odyssey is the big one that I was just like comparing because it's one of my all-time favorite movies and one of the greatest movies ever. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot happened in this movie in these 90 minutes. It's just like, hmm, Asuka died, but then you can say she didn't die at the end. Misato, sadly, I didn't see her coming back. I really like that Pen Pen the Penguin was included in this movie for like 5 seconds at most, so I'm happy with that. Uh, yeah, I also really like, especially like the last dialogues that uh, Shinji's father was having, and like at the moment before Raya Yanami was taking over everything on planet Earth. Oh wow! Like, I mean, I could be speaking a lot, and I'm just talking the tip of the iceberg. Like only the surface of everything that this movie has, and of course the entire anime. But yeah, yeah, I think if I have to give a conclusion to this, it's like, well, I can. now realize of why people really like this anime after all these decades. And yeah, I dare to say it's a classic in multimedia, audiovisual art. Yeah, I wonder how people are going to keep reacting to this anime in the next centuries. Hopefully, in the best way possible, in the most positive way. Yep, yep. I really like it is about humanity, about being human. Very nice.